Wait, before you assume your US citizenship is bulletproof, you need to hear this, because right now there's a shocking reality that millions of Americans don't know about. Some US citizens have rock-solid constitutional protection that even Congress can't touch. But others, their citizenship could technically be stripped away, and the difference between these two groups might surprise you. I'm getting flooded with messages from people asking, can the government actually revoke someone's US citizenship? Are certain Americans more vulnerable than others? And with new bills being introduced in the Senate targeting dual citizens, these questions have never been more urgent. Here's what most people don't realize. US citizenship isn't equally protected for everyone. There are actually two classes of citizens with completely different levels of protection. And if you're in the wrong category, you need to understand what that means for you and your family. So let me break this down for you because I've spent years on both sides of this battle. I'm Adrian Pandev, and before I started helping people defend their citizenship, I actually worked at the US Department of Justice defending the government in naturalization cases. So I've seen how this system really works from the inside. And now at Dream Visa Updates, I'm helping countless individuals protect their American citizenship and navigate these complex legal waters. Before we dive deeper, if you want to stay informed about these critical immigration issues, hit that subscribe button. These are the updates that could literally change your life, and I break them down so you actually understand what's happening. Now, this video builds on something I covered recently about a Senate bill that's trying to end dual citizenship for Americans. If you missed that one, go watch it after this. But today, we're focusing on something even more fundamental. Who has real constitutional protection and who doesn't? Here's where it gets serious. There are two distinct classes of US citizens, and the law treats them very differently. Class 1, these are the protected citizens. If you were born inside the United States, or if you immigrated here and went through the naturalization process to become a citizen, you're in this category. And you have something powerful on your side. A Supreme Court case from 1967 called Afroyim versus Rusk. This landmark decision said something crystal clear. Citizens born in the US or naturalized have a 14th Amendment constitutional right to their citizenship. And here's the key part. Unless you voluntarily give it up, the government cannot take it away. Period. No act of Congress, no new law, no political movement can strip you of that constitutional right. You're protected at the highest level. But Class 2, that's where things get concerning. If you were born outside the United States to American parents, even though you're a natural-born US citizen, you don't have the same constitutional shield. Let me explain why, because this is crucial. The Constitution specifically says that people born in the United States or naturalized are citizens, but it doesn't mention people born abroad. Now, Congress fixed this gap by passing the Immigration and Nationality Act, which grants citizenship to children born overseas to U.S. citizen parents, as long as certain residency requirements are met. But here's the catch. In a 1971 case called Rogers versus Belay, the Supreme Court made a critical distinction. They ruled that because this second group of citizens received their citizenship through an act of Congress, not through the Constitution itself, Congress has the power to impose conditions on that citizenship. Think about what that means. If your citizenship comes from a law that Congress wrote, Congress could theoretically change that law. They could add restrictions. They could create new requirements. And that's what makes this class of citizens more vulnerable. So if you were born outside the US to American parents, does this mean you should panic right now? Absolutely not. Let me be very clear about this. Before anything could ever happen to this group of citizens, multiple things would have to fall into place. First, a law would have to actually pass through Congress. Then it would be immediately challenged in court because you better believe civil rights organizations and legal experts would fight it. Then it would have to survive those legal challenges and eventually reach the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would have to uphold it. We're talking about a process that could take years, if it even got that far. So, no, there's no immediate threat to Americans born abroad. But I'm explaining this because I've received hundreds of questions about it, and you deserve to understand the legal framework that governs your citizenship. The constitutional protections clarified in Afroyim versus Rusk apply firmly to those born in the U.S. and those who naturalized. But those born outside the country exist in a different legal category. They don't have that same bedrock constitutional protection. Now let's connect this to the bill I mentioned earlier, the one Senator Moreno introduced about dual citizenship. Do I think this specific bill will pass and become law? Honestly, no, I don't. But here's what keeps me up at night, and here's what you should be paying attention to. The real danger isn't this one bill, it's the precedent. It's the slippery slope we're creating. Because once Congress starts introducing legislation that targets specific classes of U.S. citizens, even if those bills don't pass, they normalize the conversation. They make the idea less shocking. They test the waters. And when you combine that with the legal reality that citizens born abroad don't have constitutional protection, you start to see why this this matters. Today, it might be a bill about dual citizenship that goes nowhere, but tomorrow it could be legislation that actually restricts the rights of Americans born outside the country, and whether that would apply retroactively to existing citizens or only to future births abroad, we simply don't know. That uncertainty, that vulnerability, that's what concerns me as an attorney who's spent years in this field. We're opening a door that might be very hard to close. Look, I'm not here to fearmonger, I'm here to educate you about the legal realities that govern American citizenship. Understanding these two classes of citizens and their different protections is crucial, especially in today's political climate where immigration and citizenship are constant topics of debate. If you have questions about your specific situation, or if you want me to cover related topics, drop them in the comments below. I read every single one, and your questions help me create content that actually addresses what you're worried about. And remember, staying informed is your first line of defense. So subscribe to Dream Visa updates, hit that notification bell, and let's make sure you never miss a critical update that could affect you or your loved ones. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to protecting something as precious as your American citizenship. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.